assessment is another coverage that automatically comes on your policy. It is normally used by 99% of the companies to cover if the association as a whole, everyone at the same time is assessed a loss. In my long career of doing insurance, it's happened once in a condo, so it's not used often. However, because of 514B 2006 changing the fact that the associations, the boards, through the board, can charge for a loss, some insurance companies have now taken this loss assessment and said that's where we're going to pay the deductible, not under dwelling. Some have said we're going to cover it under dwelling if you have damage to your dwelling, but if you don't have damage, then we're going to cover it on loss assessment. So it really gets confusing. So I tell everybody nowadays, dwelling, whatever you have under dwelling for the deductible of the association, you must have the same amount for loss assessment. So if the association has a $25,000 deductible and you've got $10,000 worth of improvements under dwelling, you now have $35,000. But your loss assessment must be $25,000 because that's, your company could be charging or could be paying back the deductible under loss assessment. So you need to make sure your loss assessment and your dwelling for the association's deductible has enough. Okay, loss assessment is different from loss of use or loss of rental income. It's a separate coverage on the HO6 and the HO4. And then the HO6 also comes with personal liability. Something goes wrong in the unit, someone comes to visit, and they trip over your kid's toy and they break a leg. You're out golfing, and you hit somebody with your golf ball. I had a claim where the owner of a condo was at a baseball game, and you know how you can get the ball, and it comes into the, he accidentally hit some kid, the kid fell and broke his teeth, the parents were lawyers, they sued the guy at the game, he had no HO6, he says, what do you mean the master policy is not going to cover me? I'm a member of the association, it says that I'm covered as a member of the association. I said, yes, for when the association gets sued, not for what you do out in the public. You need to have your own policy that protects you just in case. Okay? And the HO6 also covers loss of your contents, should you be, the airlines lose it, should somebody break into your car, into your golf clubs, whatever the case may be. It's not just covering you in your apartment, it's covering you where you go, okay? So it's a great little policy. It has property protection and it also has liability protection. I always tell people the minimum limit any condo owner should have is this $300,000. Most policies come with $100,000. For $25, $15 a year, it varies. Between $15 and $25 a year, you get $300,000. With that $300,000, you are capable of buying an umbrella policy if you need one. So it is important that everybody have at least $300,000. Every now and then I'll run across an umbrella carrier. They'll say, oh, I'll accept $100,000. Great. If your umbrella carrier says they'll accept $100,000 as the limit for liability before they'll cover above, then you can have $100,000. But for most people, it has to be $300,000. So you need to make sure you have a decent limit of liability because stuff happens. You do get sued or somebody threatens you, and it's nice to know your insurance company is going to be there. They're going to hire the attorney or they're going to pay out. If you screwed up, they're going to pay out. But it's nice to know they're there. The HO4, the renter's coverage, it comes with contents because obviously they have no dwelling. They don't fix up your unit. I mean, give me the tenant who's going to fix my walls or add something to my unit that they can't take, but they don't come that way. Tenants just bring in contents. They have loss of use because they do screw up and mess up, and they do lose the use of their unit, but if they have an HO4, you don't lose your rental income. And of course, it has liability on the HO4. So it's important that everybody is insured adequately. The biggest problem we have is this loss of use. When someone, the policies usually go by percentages, so they take the dwelling or your contents and they say, oh, 20% for loss of use. But you can increase. If it's going to cost $3,000 a month to rent a place, or to make up for what for you to go live elsewhere while there's a claim, then you need a minimum of $36,000 under loss of use. I had a doctor who just lost his home, completely destroyed. I said, well, where are you living now? He says, well, they moved me into a home on Kahala, and he came from a high-end condo. I said, how much is that costing the insurance company? He says, well, it's costing them $7,000 and me $1,000. $8,000 for a cottage on Kahala, in the Kahala area where he lives and works. Okay? You will be surprised at the cost to rent. Marco Polo, I talked to the USAA rep who had all the military people in there, or a good percentage of them. He couldn't even find a place to put his people. It was so crowded. Everything was booked. He said he went to the military base and he talked to the commander who had some extra rooms, and he's put his people out there because he couldn't even find a hotel to put them in. What has happened at Marco Polo is a lot of owners have called and said, I've used up my loss of use, I have no more. When am I going to get back in? Well, some of them are going to be out for a year or two. They're not getting back in. Some have gotten back in, but they're going to have to get out later because of certain things we have to fix up in the hallways. So there's different issues that you're going to need this loss of use. To run around with what I call Manini limits, thinking it's never going to happen to you, and then to say, well, tell the board I don't want to pay the maintenance. I don't want to pay it. I can't afford it. Whose fault is that? You as owners have to step up to the plate and say, I did not buy an adequate limit of coverage. I got a call from somebody at Marco Polo telling me that, well, I think I may have to join this group that's thinking of suing the board because we didn't have an adequate HO6. And I said, excuse me? He says, yeah, I didn't buy enough limits, Sue. I said, whose fault is that? He says, well, you know, I should have known. I needed higher limits. And what am I going to do? He said, I only have enough to last me for 3 months' rent. I said, if you think by suing somebody you're going to get money in 3 months, think again. It'll be years. So I said, may I suggest you go find somebody you have to live with, relatives, family. None of us want any of our family members back. They're grown up, they're gone, we're glad they're on their own. But you know what? There comes a time when you have to take somebody back in. Okay? I mean, so if you don't want to move back in with family, then better make sure you're adequately insured. He said, well, I never thought I'd ever be out of my apartment for more than a month or two. Well, stuff happens. We all know it can happen. So we all need to go home and look at our policies and determine if we have adequate limits. Because loss of use and loss of rents is probably the biggest thing at Marco Polo that the unit owners were in trouble about. The building's going to come back, it's going to be fine, but loss of use, loss of rental income. Landlords calling, I'm not making enough. I didn't cover my rental income correctly. It's their fault, no one else's. So in conclusion, everybody needs a mighty HO6. No more of the Manini premiums. I want the cheapest. Forget cheap. I want a quality product that's going to give me enough to give me my furniture back, my improvements back, cover the association deductible, and make sure I have enough money to go live elsewhere because I happen to have that horrible fire. That's what your goal is. A good policy would be about $250. It's not a year. It's a lot of money, but it's surely cheaper than your auto insurance. Unless you're going to live in your auto for the 6 months it takes to rebuild back the unit, you know, good luck. So it's important that everybody has that HO6. If you're a landlord, you should make all of your tenants have an HO4. Remember, mortgages, maintenance fees, rent, they're all due, whether you can live in your unit or not. No one is going to forgive you for that. And there's no reason for them to forgive you for that. You set up an obligation with your mortgage company, you put an obligation in with the association when you bought that condo that you would pay maintenance fees. So it is important that you somehow, if you're not extremely wealthy and you can't afford to pay maintenance fees and your mortgage and go rent something else, that you transfer this risk to an insurance company and get yourself adequate limits that you are protected. Thank you.